Hello and welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen and today I'm going to be making a sandalwood and patchouli soap using this fragrance from Nature's Garden. It's called Patchouli and Sandalwood. And I have my little notes on here. It says light tan and none, which means it discolors to a light tan, and none means the reviews said it didn't cause acceleration or ricing or separation. So I'm hoping the reviews are good. I have not used this fragrance before, but it smells amazing. I love earthy and musky scents. This scent is fantastic. So I'm hoping it holds up in cold process soap. For the colors, I'm going to be using, I got this as a new color. I've never used this before, and it's so beautiful, from Wholesale Supplies Plus. It's called Blush Bronze Mica. Isn't that gorgeous? I love that. So I'll be using that, and also my Fire Cider from Nurture Soap, which is beautiful. It's like a cinnamon red with a little shimmer. Beautiful. So I thought these two colors sort of went with the patchouli and sandalwood, very earthy. So I just thought they went with it. So what I'm thinking I'd like to do is pour a bottom layer and do a mica line with this blushed bronze, and then also swirl with this. We'll see how this behaves, the fragrance, but if it's easy to work with, I'm going to pour a bottom layer, then maybe do a swirl on top. I just want this to be earthy and beautiful, and I love it. I'm hoping it holds up. So we'll see on the flip side how it goes through saponification. Sometimes fragrances can morph a little bit, and they'll bounce back, so there's only one way to find out. This is going to be a coconut milk soap, and so when I make my lye solution, I am going to water discount for the amount of coconut milk I'm using. So what I'm going to do is do a 50-50 sodium hydroxide and distilled water, and then the rest of the liquid portion is going to be my coconut milk. So it's going to be a really steep discount, and I will add the coconut milk right to the oils. So that's how we're going to proceed, and I'll talk you through it as I go. So let me get everything pulled together and get my hair pulled back, and let's make some patchouli and sandalwood soap. All right, I'm almost ready to get moving on this wonderful soap here, and I wanted to show you just a couple of things. Here is my coconut milk that I've pre-measured and discounted from the water lye solution over here. And I've said this in other videos, and I'll just say it again. The only caution when you're doing a water discount is that the liquid that you mix with your lye can never be less than the lye. So whatever volume of sodium hydroxide you're using, you need at least that much liquid to mix with it. So that's what I did over here. I've got a 50-50 lye distilled water split. And I dissolved cane sugar in the water first, then added the lye crystals and tussa silk fibers. And then over here is my wonderful pure coconut milk that I've discounted from that. And I'm using this coconut milk I got on Amazon, and it is guar gum free, which is really nice, and it soaps really well. So that's the coconut milk I'm using, and it's down in the description box, a link for it. What else do I have going on here? Oh yes, so I wanted to do something different on top. If everything's behaving, I have my fragrance off to the side here, and I'm going to be adding it to each color as I mix, because I've never used this fragrance before, and I don't want anything to speed up on me, even though it has great reviews. I'm proceeding with caution. But I'm going to do a mica line using our gorgeous, bronzed blush here, and then on top, I wanted to spritz the top with a mica alcohol spritz that I have pre-blended here to make an even sheen across the top. I've seen it done before, and it looks great. I'll show you when we get there, but what I had to do was I had the solution, so I put about a half a teaspoon of the mica and a couple tablespoons of rubbing alcohol in the spritz bottle. Well, the little pipeline on here and the nozzle, it was too small for the texture of the mica. So this is my big rubbing alcohol bottle that I had to pour off, and I mixed it in here, and the pipe and the nozzle is big enough to handle the mica flex because it's got a lot of shimmer in there. So anyway, when I get done pouring the soap and texture the top, I'm going to mist it with this, and the only thing the alcohol does is just help the mica to disperse evenly, so it makes like a glazing over the entire top, and then the alcohol will just evaporate off and leave the mica behind. But I'll show you when we get there. So that was my spray bottle woes, and I'm glad that I gave it a test run before I got my soap made, because I would have been very frustrating. But anyway, all that being said, I'm going to get my dry additives mixed in here, and my coconut milk. I'm going to go straight into the oils with my coconut milk right now. and we will come back and make some soap. I'm all set and ready to add the lye mixture here. And I did make one other little change on top of the fire cider. Because this was very similar in color to the other, I added a little bit of red vibrance to just bump up the red. I didn't want the blush bronze and the fire cider to be too similar in color. So that's there, and I am going to add a little titanium dioxide to the uncolored portion because this fragrance says that it does discolor to a light tan, and I really want those swirls to stand out. All right, got all the goodness in here, and let's get this going. Again, I'm going to hand stir to emulsion, and then we will split off for our colors and add our fragrance and see how everything's behaving at that point, and I will stick blend as needed after that. All right, it's the next day and I can't wait to get into this sandalwood and patchouli. Well, let me tell you, I am digging this kind of glazed top. Isn't that awesome? It's like shimmery and I find that very appealing. Anyway, it smells great today. I will say that it was really a mess doing that spray. I had a lot of spray over. My whole soap area was very glittery. But if glitter doesn't bother you, then that's fine. But let's get this out of the mold and see how it went on the inside. I did break through the mica line, that first one. My pitcher, when I was pouring, slipped and it poured heavy, and so I know I broke through the mica line, but I'm hoping it'll just look sort of textured and cool in there. But let's get in here and see. I'm getting ready to cut this wonderful bar here, but I wanted to show you first, I actually had a couple comments and I wanted to make clear. I have these baking cooling racks that I got on Amazon, and the link is in the description box below. This is what I set them on when I first cut them. They don't cure on these. It's a stainless steel coating on here. So anyway, this is how they, when I first cut them and I let them sit for a few hours before I bevel and stamp, they're on one of these little cooling racks. What I cure my soaps on is, it came with my big baker's rack that I have for curing racks, are these, and these are aluminum, but they have the air holes in them. They're a baking cooling pan that I got that went with my baking rack, and I have a video on how I put my baking rack together so you can see that. But because these are aluminum, I always cover them with a, this is freezer paper with the glossy side up, and this is what my soaps sit on to cure for 4 to 6 weeks on the curing rack. So I just wanted to clarify, the little baking cooling racks are just for the kind of interim as I'm cutting and setting them out before I do photography and all that. That's what they sit on, so they're not curing on those. So just making that clear. Let's get into this soap and see how it's looking. All right. I can't wait to get into the middle of these and see how the colors and the swirls came out. Definitely had a breakthrough on the bottom there, but I think it looks kind of cool. Yeah. It's really hard to discern the red from the bronze color in the swirl, but you can see it. Loving that top though, huh? That's neat. So these are just really cool and groovy, and I think they look earthy like the sandalwood and patchouli fragrance. I think these really represent it well. I'm tickled. I think I'm loving these. I can't wait to get in the middle. Let's keep cutting. All right. Oh, that's kind of cute. That's like a perfect little teardrop. Isn't that cute? So, oh, I love that about soap swirls. No two bars are alike. And I was a little concerned cutting into these that mica would make drag marks, but it doesn't. It doesn't make drag marks going down, so that's nice. I can cut them sitting straight up. That little teardrop just tickles me. All right, there's a little bit of the breakthrough. This was the side that I didn't dip down, and you can see the little mica line. So that was the original intent, but I like the swirly side too, so I think they're both cool. All right. And the neat thing about this mica on the top is it doesn't come off when you touch it because of the alcohol. It just sort of bonded on there, and now it'll rinse off in the shower, but it's not like rubbing off on my hands when I touch it, and I really like that. So it's not messy to deal with. It's been a while since I've shown how I bevel more than just the one. So I have my bucket here of shavings that when this is full, I will either rebatch it, which means melt it all down and make a new loaf of soap just for my family, because it's usually the more rustic looking bars. So I will either do that, or I can save some of these shavings for a confetti bar. So these do not go to waste, all this wonderful soap. I just save it for a rainy day and make another project out of it. But this is a KitchenAid vegetable peeler, super low tech. And I just find this, for me, it's a nice smooth edge. So I made this soap yesterday. I cut it this morning and it's been sitting out here for a couple of hours, and so this is the next day. It's maybe a little more than 24 hours, maybe 28 hours. And I just bevel the edges, and it just makes them nice, and so no sharp edges. So that's all I do here. I have them off to the side, and the surface on them after, so what I do is I slice them and I let them sit for a couple of hours just to let the surface area dry so it doesn't feel tacky. They're easy to handle for my beveling here and my stamping. So I line them all up here as I bevel and get them ready for the stamping part that comes next. But so anyway, it's pretty low tech. Not a lot going on. It's kind of relaxing. I just enjoy. I'll put music on or audio book or something and sit here and do this, and I actually enjoy the peeling process. I think it's very calming. So this is how I bevel the edges. So they're all beveled and lined up here, and so for stamping I'm just going to tip them on their sides here and get everything lined up, and I'll show you how I stamp. I get a lot of questions on this, so I know I'm repeating myself. I've shown this before, but somebody might be interested, so I figured I'd bring you along. You can always fast forward through this if you already know how to stamp. So I stamp on the sides of my soap. A lot of people will stamp their logo on the front, and it would be the same exact procedure, only whatever side of the soap you want to stamp. So here is my little stamp that I got made. I bought this on Etsy from a place called Digital to Create. The guy's name is Gabor, and he is in Hungary. And the link is down below, but he did a beautiful job. It's very simple. I sent him a JPEG with my logo. This is specifically made for soaps. It has a little bit higher of a rise on there, and this is a hard resin type plastic mounted on wood. So that, and I just, I had to write in Sharpie up here so that I make sure it's going the right way and not backwards. So those are just my little cheater notes that I wrote on there. So anyway, here's my stamp. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I missed my stamp with it because it helps it release from the soap. There's no sticking when I do that. And then I just line it up. And here is my mallet that I got at Harbor Freight, but you can get them on Amazon. And I give a little bit of a tap, kind of to test it. How soft is it? And then good stamp. These are nice and firm. Pull that off, and now it's wet from the isopropyl alcohol, but that will just evaporate, and I just wipe it off, and there is the logo. As simple as that. And I can get a couple of stamps out of, I'll spritz it once, and when I'm just going without talking, I can just move along and get, 4 or 5 bars stamped off of one spritz. When it starts to dry out, I'll just stop and spritz it again. As far as the amount of pressure I use when I hammer my soaps here, most of my batches are pretty firm at this point. A couple of times I'll have a soft batch, like if I've used a puree of some kind, or if it's not my standard recipe, if it's higher in olive oil, it might be a little firmer. In which case, maybe I won't stamp it 24 hours, I'll wait 48 hours. So there's no hard and fast rule. I've waited a while before, and when the bars get too firm, I don't like to stamp them. I feel like it's harder to get a nice impression, and you have to hit so hard that sometimes you can crack the soap. So I like to do it while the soaps are still relatively, soft. I would say within 4 or 5 days of making the soap is my preference to stamp. But, that's just my preference. Some people stamp after the cure, and that works for them and whatever recipe they're using. Everybody's recipes are a little bit different, so maybe that has a factor to do with when you want to stamp your soaps. But this is what works for me, so I would just suggest you test it, try it your own. If you want to stamp, you certainly don't have to stamp soap at all. I mean, it's just kind of a trendy thing right now, but this would be great soap without a stamp on it. So it's very, it's just soap, and you've got a lot of choices and preferences, and there's no right way, no wrong way. This is just the way I do it. So there you go. Finished bars. These are going to go sit on the curing rack for probably 5 or 6 weeks. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe. And have a wonderful day.